So it's post-Rocktober. Finally got around to making one of these videos, and it's a hard video to make right now. The state of the 300-point metagame is... it's not even something you can refer to as flux. This is what we like to call a stagnation, or a very closed meta, or a competitive game that could be very well defined as solved. Part of that is that the Unimind as a character has been very dominant as far as competitive play is concerned, but we're still in a pre-WKO stage. And the reason I want to stress that is we now know the threat. So what do we do to deal with the threat? And in this particular state of game, you have to look at what options we actually have. So the first option is, of course, to play the Unimind. We're talking about a character who's got 5 clicks with a stop click. That stop click comes with regeneration, as well as some steel energy. A lot of people are teaming it up with Thunderstrike and various other effects in order to keep them alive a little better. Others are pairing it up with some level of support. They're definitely pairing it up with Colossal Retaliators to torment your opponent, because your opponent's going to be forced to attack the character. So now they're put in a situation where do they want to attack the Colossals as well as Unimind. Ultimately, it's a very strong figure, compacted with the fact that counterplay to him fits on a team with him. This isn't like the days where we had Jakeem Thunder. If you had a Jakeem Thunder, you had the option of using Nighthawk Prime to limit stat boosts. That's not even that wasn't an option because of the rule of primes. Now we get into a world with Unimind, who's only a unique super rare. You're allowed to fit in a prime with him, and the Nighthawk Prime is a very, very commonly chosen one to back him up. As a result, we see currently a very dominant force in the game. So you're thinking about going to your WKOs, you're planning your setup to go there. If you haven't been watching the Meta Lab, I can't stress this enough. The first thing you're going to do if you aren't going to play a Unimind is you got to practice against a Unimind. You got to come up with, and I'm not talking like practice a game. When a force is this dominant, you've got to practice dozens upon dozens, probably half 100 to 100 games to know full well all the ins and outs your team may have in order to functionally deal with the Unimind. There are teams that have been made. Look to Kenny Pena's top 8 Rocktober team as an example of a team that was very capable of competing with Uniminds, but it's not necessarily the strong answer because it had some rough things happen to it and didn't make it past the top 8. Now that's not necessarily a knock on Kenny's team. He had some particularly terrible dice rolls, or some dice rolls go bad against him, and it cost him a game. But that was the team that he had was clearly tested against the Unimind, and he got as far as he did in a field that contained as many of the characters as it did. Especially when you look, once you do the math on the top 32, the top 8, and the top 16, and the top 4. But you have to get the knowledge base in. You got to know what Unimind's weaknesses are. He can die. He's got 5 clicks of health. The problem is that he's able to pick a power on each player's turn. That means during his own turn, he's picking an attack power or an offensive power. During your turn, he's picking a defensive power. And that defensive power, or whatever power that he happens to choose, is protected from Pulse Wave. Rather, the effects that negate any powers that you might have. So that will include, if you happen to choose Stealth with him, well then you can't Pulse Wave him. Because guess what? His stealth can't be ignored by health, or can't be stopped by Pulse Wave's effects. So what we think of as the traditional answer doesn't work against him. Then he's also got the option of being able to choose Invincible with some of the characters you can put on a sideline, and then that's another power you got to find your way across. Ultimately, you got to do the damage, but the damage isn't easy to do. If you do 5 damage to him with a character somehow, if he's not packing a Nighthawk Prime, and you do have a straight 5 damage go to him, you're still only dealing 3 if he's chosen Invincible. So then you got another 2 clicks that you got to get to him, and even those 2 clicks, you're going to get one of them because he's got a stop click on that last click. So you got to make basically, if chosen correctly, 3 actions to get by this dial. And then once you're through this dial, 3 other characters show And those 3 other characters are fully capable of using ID cards very effectively. They're capable of still competing as attacking characters after you've thrown a force at him. It's not a win once you've got the Unimind down. There's still a fight. And that's one thing you got to be ready for. So one option in that case, because the Unimind isn't officially KO'd, is actually replaced by the 3 internals, get some action tokens on him before you kill him. What will happen then is any characters that he replace him get all the action tokens that he had. So all 3 of them with 2 action tokens, you might get a turn to survive. The problem with that, of course, is not all those characters can perplex up their defenses by 2, so you got to get by those. Those are the characters you want to be able to pulse wave. So some of the things that can work, outnumbering and outmaneuvering. Kenny's team was an outnumbering case. My team was an attempt at outnumbering, but I just sometimes couldn't make dice stick, and a lot of the stats that are on the dials on the bystander tokens that I made with my POG-based team, including Devil Dinosaur and the Penguin, the stats weren't good enough to get by things, regardless of how much Pulse Wave I was using. There's so much you got to get by with the Unimind you got to plan for. In addition to any other crazy person that's going to be not bringing Unimind might have a team that, even though you can beat a Unimind, this weird thing off to the side had things that you didn't plan on showing up and end up actually having effects on your team. So you got to know. I'm not necessarily saying you have to practice against those teams, but you do have to know the weird effects that your team is weak to and bring them, or bring a backup plan to that. ID cards are a good option for that. This is why I really stress the use of ID cards. ID cards bring you that secondary option of what can I do in addition to what's on the board. And yeah, so we're hitting into a bit of a muddy, sticky mud metagame. I'm not naysaying, but what we've seen from Harley Quinn isn't necessarily giving us any answers yet. We'll see how it goes. I hope this helps you start your planning stage on your WKOs. It's not an easy stage going forward, but you know, make the best of it that you can. Get those practice games in now, and you know, be ready if you don't think you can come up with a strategy to beat the Unimind, to play the Unimind. Or if you're not playing the Unimind, the other mindset is to not get upset when you don't do so well. It's one of those things where I don't want to say you have to play the Unimind. I do want you to get some practice games in against it. But if you don't get those practice games in, you don't get that knowledge base, you don't have all those answers to both the Unimind and any other possible team that you might come across, you need to be ready with the idea that you might not win. And that's an okay thing. That's actually going to be a thing I think I've covered in the past and needs to be covered some more. But we'll talk about that in a later episode. In the meantime, guys, this game has stressed an important thing is practice, and practice will make your team better. Good luck, guys.